All right, so my name is Kaelyn, and this is Sociolinguistics, a Lesson. So, my audience is a group of high school educators at the beginning of the school year during an assembly. So, I chose this audience because I feel that school teachers have to understand that language is diverse, just like their students, and you can't just go around correcting them whenever they aren't speaking correctly or if they aren't using correct grammar. It's more of educating them rather than correcting. So, language, identity, and change. Language is more than just speaking, it's how we use it. In our textbook, Gerard Van Herk defines, well, he doesn't really define it, he just gives an explanation. He says, when sociolinguistics talk about language, we mean language as it is actually used. That doesn't sound very profound, but it actually sets us apart from both normal people and from some other branches of linguistics. So he's basically saying that sociolinguistics is about how we speak. It's more or less not about what we're saying. And we study how people talk and how we use languages in different settings and to different people. Identity is who we are when we speak. So I would say I speak in the African American vernacular, but I do have a different voice and a different sound when I am giving a presentation like this, or if I'm talking to a supervisor or a teacher. But when I'm talking to my friends, I have my own way of speaking. According to Joanna Farr, language identity and belonging to an ethnic group provides an individual with emotionally significant aspect of his self-concept. Language is an authenticity marker in claiming ethnic identity and facilitating a sense of belonging. So she's basically saying here that people that speak alike will be more comfortable together rather than one person that does not speak the same than another group. Change is how language changes over time. So language doesn't change on its own. It's really us making the change. The people who speak the language change the language, and the changes that they make change how society views a word or a phrase. And there are different types of change. There's broadening, which is basically a word having the meanings expanded. For example, I wrote down like cool, because not many people would say cool as something interesting or fun. Before, it would just cool just meant like temperature. Another one is narrowing, so that's basically the opposite of broadening. It's making one word that has as too many words and assembled with it, but it's changing it to like one definition. So I couldn't really think of any. I don't think I've been around a lot this long, but in the textbook he gives the definition of deer, because it used to just mean animal, like everyone would call every animal a deer. However, now it just means a specific type of animal. There is amelioration. Sorry, I can't say that word. This is a word that gives more positive meaning. So I also couldn't think of one, but he gives one in the textbook. It's praise, which used to just mean evaluate, but now it means to positively evaluate, which makes sense. And then there's pejoration, which is the opposite of amelioration. It's when a word gets more negative meaning. So I gave the example of trash because now in like pop culture and society, trash is more than just like garbage. We say it to mean something that's heinous, disgusting, or rude. So language and ideology. Ideology is how we perceive languages and how we choose to view them. And those perceptions relate to power. So ideology and power kind of go hand in hand because those in power kind of set the tone for how language should be spoken. So that goes with accents, dialects, and foreign languages. And according to Nicholas Suterellu, The study of language ideology offers a way of viewing complaints about accents as connected to broader issues of political power and social exclusion through their intersection with other oppressive ideologies such as racism. America is supposed to be an English-speaking country because English is the dominant language spoken. So English is kind of all around us. It's like in our car manuals, it's in the newspaper, it's in the media. Everyone is speaking English in America. But there are other languages that are spoken, and there are some people in our country that believe that English should only be the language spoken, which is pretty racist because that's saying that people that can't speak English don't belong here. Like Spanish, Russian, and like Arabic, for example. Arabic is a really very, very racist one because a lot of, after 9/11 happened, there were a lot of Arabic speaking Muslim people that were basically outcasted in society, and they were hated. And I even had a friend who she lived in Indianapolis all her life, but after 9/11 happened, she had to move to a more liberal area because of all the racism that her family received. And even with Arabic people say that they're speaking Muslim instead of speaking Arabic. So that in itself, it's being uneducated and racist. So language variation is how we study the different ways in which people speak. So this emphasizes that people speak differently, but it isn't necessarily wrong. So I gave the example of I will cook dinner tonight versus tonight I'll cook dinner. Both of these is correct. It's just a different variation. I would say I will cook dinner tonight, but another person might say tonight I'll cook dinner. In our textbook, he gives an explanation of a variable that they can be expressed in two or more ways called variants. Sometimes linguistic variation seems to have no social meaning at all. For example, the choice between give her the potato and give the potato to her. So he's basically saying that variation, it doesn't really have an effect on society, and there's no one to tell us which one is the correct one to say. It's just however the person feels comfortable and whatever they grew up saying. And a variation can be with or without change. So stable variations are consistently used throughout decades or centuries throughout a language. So another example in the textbook is the dropping of the G sound at the ending of ing words. This is something that I've been doing my entire life. I mean, I knew it wasn't correct to say that, but everyone around me was also saying it. So nobody has ever corrected me, I guess. And it doesn't really sound right to say sleeping, eating, jumping. It just doesn't sound like, it sounds too proper for me. So that's why I would say sleeping, eating, jumping. And like I said, not many people use the proper sound at the end of the sentence because majority of society doesn't. So I wouldn't correct someone if they said sleeping, eating, jumping. I would say how I would say it if that means it's correct, but I wouldn't tell them that they're incorrect because even though those words are spelled incorrectly, basically all of society would use them. So this is my bibliography page. I hope that my presentation gave the teachers a different perception on language, and I hope that they learned a thing or two about it. But altogether, I really enjoyed this class, and I learned so much about language. I thought language was just English, really, but it's really how English came about.